Alright, so humans are the most adaptable animal on the planet. Okay? We can live and do live in pretty much any environment that there is. We're really good at adapting. So some species are specialists. They can only live in one place with one species of flower. Let's say they have to live on that flower. But humans are generalists, so we can live anywhere, and we do live everywhere. We're very adaptable. Okay, so these adaptations that humans make, whether they're biological or behavioral or cultural, okay, those adaptations create the difference we see in the world, right? So we have these basic biological and behavioral characteristics. All humans look pretty much the same, okay? Obviously there are differences in how we look, but for the most part, you can tell a human when you see a human, okay? Forward-facing eyes, we have long arms, we walk on two legs, we're bipedal, that's what that means, okay? We live in groups, we have very slow reproduction, we have long childhoods. So we have these behavioral and biological characteristics that we share. But at the same time, there's a ton of variation around the world. Okay, so the variation is more of degree and not kind. So what we mean when we say that is that while all humans live in groups, those groups might look different. So in mainstream America, we live with our natal group or your nuclear family. A lot of times those are the same, but sometimes they're different. Okay, so you live with a mother, a father, the children. Let's say in traditional world China, that might look different. You might live with mom, dad, children, grandparents. There might be some cousins or something like that living as well. So while we live in family groups, those family groups look different, okay, depending on where you are. So this is the influence of culture, how we adapt to these changes. Traditionally, anthropologists would kind of focus on studying the variation. We're starting to see now a lot of anthropologists studying the similarities instead of the variation. And we still study variation, obviously, but there's a little bit of a shift towards studying the similarities as opposed to just the variation or the differences. So this interest in human variation and human difference and cultures that are strange to you isn't anything new. Since humans have been interacting with other humans, we have been interested in why other humans do things the way they do. So it can be very easy to think that the way you live in your culture is the only way that exists or is the best way. That's called an ethnocentric perspective. Okay, that just means that you believe your way of doing things is better than every other way or is the correct way. So then when you see other cultures doing things differently, sometimes very differently, it can seem strange, and that can make you seem it can be very interesting. You want to study it. You want to see, why are they doing things that way? Why would you do something that way? Okay, so this interest in difference isn't new. You have 3 scholars there on your screen who all studied human difference and human variation. Okay, so it's not anything new. And so we think about what would be the earliest kind of practice of this. Who would be the people who are doing this the most? Okay, so think about that for a second. If we're thinking about people moving around the world, people who are going to be interacting with other cultures more frequently than others, and who might be our first or earliest written record of interaction with different cultures, who would that be? It's going to be travelers. So people working in the spice trade, people traveling around the world and interacting with new and different cultures. So a lot of times our very earliest written records of culture comes from these travelers. And so down below, I want you to kind of brainstorm and think a little bit, answer the question below, but why, think about this, why might that be problematic? If we have travelers, those people moving throughout the world, writing down what they see, what might be problematic about that? They're trying to tell a story about what they saw. How might that be dangerous? So I'm going to give you a minute to just think about that.